G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you everything I've learned from watching at least 20 hours of pro scrims already in Season 7, and this meta is really different. If you plan on competing or you're just curious and want to watch, I would highly recommend watching this video all the way to the end because there's a bunch of stuff I guarantee you haven't realized has changed with the new meta and how the pros are playing it. I'm talking everything. I'm going to cover what loadout should each pro be running right now on a team, who's running the chug cannon, what shotgun are they using. I'm going to be talking about which layer to play endgame, when should you take height, how should you be using your launch pads, what are some of the best drop spots right now, literally everything. This is basically your introduction to comp Fortnite in Season 7 so you can get a leg up on all your opponents. Let's jump into it. I'm basing this mostly off watching NA East Elite Scrims, so the top 100 players in NA East, so I promise you this is good information. This isn't just wild takes and just what I've seen from watching a few good games. This has been pretty much about 5 or 6 days now of watching 5+ games, and I checked out some of the VODs of some of the guys playing some of the EU Pro Customs. I've checked out some of the scrims from a lower level as well to see if they're doing anything differently, so I have a wide area in gameplay that I've watched so far, and I'm just pulling together the similarities and the things that the pros are doing well that is getting the most amount of wins right now, because things are very different. Let's talk about the main thing that's changed right now. Surge. Storm Surge, you probably know about it. It's a function in the game. Whoever's done the least amount of damage in the lobby when there's too many players alive at a certain threshold, let's say 70 players alive at second zone, they're going to take damage until they can deal enough damage to get above that threshold, or enough people in the game get eliminated to go below the amount of players alive. You probably know about it. Why am I talking about it? Because it is insane this season. Like, literally, Surge is the hardest it's ever been right now. Surge thresholds are insanely high, and because of the chug cannon and the launch pads in the game, so many players are surviving and making it to the end games that Surge is ridiculous. I'm not even talking about 70 and 50 players alive Surge. I'm talking rotating zone Surge. I've seen pros like Clicks playing scrims having 350 to 400 damage above Surge on 50 player, which is half the fifth zone, and knowing they still need to do more damage to not drop below on rotating zones. Let that sink in. They know they're going to need to do 400 damage or more between half zone and second rotating. So let's talk about some strategies on how you can get more Storm Surge, because there's a few different pros doing it differently. Right now, a lot of pros are going for the split strategy. So you've probably seen this done in the past with Zayt, Saf, and Stretch. They did it a lot. Bizzle, Clicks, and Booga like to do it a lot. Basically, finding a spot outside your POI, for example, let's say Sweaty Sands. The way that Clicks' team used to do on Sweaty Sands is they'd go up towards that hill that's what, I guess, to like the kind of east of Sweaty, and they'd base up along that hill close enough together where they can help each other and they don't get pushed, but far enough apart where they can watch different angles. One would be looking north towards Coral Castle, the other one's going to look towards Boney Burbs, the other one's looking towards Holy Hedges to see who's rotating out that way. You need to split it up a little bit. The main advice I'll give you that most pros are doing right now though, if you're a controller player and you have a mouse and keyboard somewhere in your house, I'm talking like your mum's office mouse, like a $5 mouse, it does not matter. Probably set up a keyboard and mouse and do hybrid. I'm not talking play keyboard and mouse endgame, but right now with long range surge tags being so important and long range aim assist being so bad, a lot of pros, and I'm talking a lot, I'm talking like Sticks, Who Fishy, Coop, Kalaz, like I'm talking big controller pros. I know Leshy does this. Set up a mouse and keyboard, set up a really low sensitivity with a really low scope sensitivity, because that's all you're going to do with it. You're not trying to edit, you're not building, you're just taking shots. Pull out the mouse and keyboard. It's going to help you controller players a lot when Storm Surge right now is a massive problem. When it gets to endgame, like half and rotating zones, all the players are close enough. Playing controller, that will be fine. But in the early game, when you're setting up for your Storm Surge tags, however you're getting them, whether you're going to split bases, whether you're going to base up near someone, if you have controller players on your team and they're struggling to get Surge, and again, just count out your Surge. Play 5 to 10 scrim games or play a tournament. Get you and your teammates, be honest, and track your Storm Surge. If you're keeping up with your mouse and keyboard teammates and you're not going below Surge, be my guest. Stick to controller. You're a demigod. But if you're struggling, that's going to be a big factor. Also, sniping. Having someone on your team who is good with the sniper is going to be massive. And if no one on your team is good with the sniper, I would be practicing it right now. Getting a headshot snipe, even if you don't get the finish, is 275 damage for the most part. Getting a body snipe is around 100. That is massive. Most pros are getting 3 to 4 snipes a game. I kid you not. Especially when everyone's boxed up, based up, holding angles, looking at each other. Once you get a snipe though, don't feel like you have to push it. A lot of the times I'm noticing pros will snipe an opponent while they're trying to get greedy, spraying the builds to get the finish. Someone else snipes them, and most of what they gained is now lost. They're losing their meds, they're getting pushed, they're losing zone priority. Feel happy with just getting a headshot snipe and not getting the finish if you have to force it too hard. Out surviving Storm Surge right now is the key to Fortnite Season 7 pro games. While on the topic of snipers and having someone good on your sniper, let's talk about loadouts. I'm going to get to endgame and what layers to play in a second, but I think it's a natural transition. Let's talk about weapons. First off, shotgun. Most pros are prioritizing a pump shotgun or a tac shotgun. Most of them are not running levers. So let me explain why. Pump shotgun is the priority. Right now, pump shotgun is and almost always will be the best shotgun. It is really good at endgame if you've got good piece control, if you've got good aim, it hits the hardest and it does the most damage. Yes, the tac has a higher fire rate, but if you're playing pro trios or just good trio games, the chance that you get into a box and you get to use the tac without just having 2 teammates just headshot you with a shotgun is not very likely. Yes, epic and legendary tacs are really good, and I especially like them on the Tarpa. If you get a really good shotgun attack or a really good tac, giving it to the Tarpa sometimes is really good. Being able to do 80 damage to builds with a high fire rate and a big clip size is really good for if you're trying to break through tunnels at the front of Tarp. If someone takes your floor, you got to quickly take it back. It's a lot safer and it's a lot more efficient than pickaxing. And honestly, if you're a back of tarp fragger, let's talk you the fragger at the very back, you should probably be running pump over tac anyway. Like a blue pump is going to hit harder than a legendary tac in almost every instance when you're the back of tarp fragger. If you open up an edit and you shoot a guy across the layer, or you open a floor, you shoot down, tac really only does superior damage when you're like face to face with them. And if you're fragging back of tarp, you very rarely should be inside someone's box. You should be getting refreshes from inside your box out. You know, opening up an edit, coning them, pumping them, taking the loot and bringing it back. You shouldn't be box jumping. So I would say run pump if you can. If you do find attack, usually keep it on the Tarpa. As far as the lever, it's the worst of both worlds. It doesn't hit as hard as a pump, but it doesn't shoot as fast as a tac. And endgame, it has a really long reload time, so if you're going to try and get a few shots off, you'll quite often realize you're staggering your rotates or falling back in zones because you're spending 10 seconds to reload just a single clip. So priority is definitely pumps. If you find a good tac, give it to the Tarpa. If you have a preference on the shotguns though, don't stress too much. As far as loadouts outside that, make sure if you're getting the chug cannon, that's going to the support player. I know it might make sense to give it to the Tarpa because they're at the front and, you know, they don't need as many items, but honestly, it's going to be a lot more useful by the player who's in the middle of the Tarp running between the two. Oh my gosh, I've been hit hard, come to me. You chug cannon them up. Oh man, I'm on the back of the Tarp, I'm being pressured. Chug cannon them. Also, support players are normally the least likely to die. Quite often, the front Tarpa, if you get cut off or someone drops in on them, they're going to get eliminated. The guy at the back of the Tarp, he might get a refresh, go to get the loot, and he gets caught off. The middle Tarp player is the most likely to survive. They're the most likely to stay healthy, and they're the most likely to make it to heal off. And that almost every good game right now is going to heal off. When I talk in a little bit about how to use launch pads, it all makes sense. You've got 3 to 4 launch pads on a team most games. Like at least you should have at least 1 or 2 launch pads every game from any major POI, and then every other team has that. So half the time you don't even use your pad, you use theirs. So it's easy to understand why players are alive for so long and why so many games are going to heal off, because everyone's saving all their materials from launch pads and then they just hard tap the last few rotating zones and no one dies. So make sure that you're setting up one of your players to go for heal offs. As far as the Tarpa, they should normally be carrying the extra meds. Usually a good loadout right now would look like Tarpa, AR, shotgun, medkit, double shield, minis or big pots, or maybe floppers or slurp fish or shield fish, whatever it is. The support player, if you can't find a slurp cannon, that's fine though. Usually just AR, shotgun, sniper, double meds. Same with the fragger. Having 2 sniper rifles on a team is not a bad thing. There's no harpoons right now. There's no carryable mobility. So other than peppers, there's really no utility. Everyone should be carrying double shields or double meds and then a sniper, except for don't run 3. 3 snipers is a little bit too much. Remember, you can still double snipe quite often. It's a trick that not enough people are utilizing. If someone's going for an angle and none of you can actually get a snipe in on them, time your teammates, say as soon as they've reset that wall, you snipe and I snipe. Both of you snipe, it breaks the wall because they've just reset it. The next snipe comes in, easy 275 damage. Running 2 snipers is completely fine. I would recommend running the chug cannon on the support though. And if for some reason, let's say your support player or your tarper is really good with the sniper, feel free to have them carry the sniper mid-game, and then just when you start to get to that end game, then swap the loadout around. It doesn't have to stay on that player. All right, let's talk about endgame, when to go for high ground, when to use your launch pads, because that's the most interesting right now. The one thing you need to get out of your head right now is high ground. Don't go for it. That's a bold take. Let me explain. High ground right now is too volatile. Unless you are a phenomenal team and you have ridiculous mats and you're really, really coordinated, high ground is going to cost you more than what it's going to save you. If you get a chance to go high ground, let's say you get high ground half-half, or you somehow go to front side on first rotating, you realize no one's on height and you crank up for it. That's fine. But as soon as you get challenged, and I mean properly challenged, if you don't hold high ground, say one of the guys who's on ultimate height gets launched padded on, he gets landed on, and he goes, I've lost height, someone's above me. Give it up. Just give it up. Stay second height or go down a couple layers on mid ground, start rotating and look to pressure them back. Do not build for it. As soon as you start suicide building height, you're going to lose. The amount of players who have launch pads now, so let me run an example by you, right? Let's say you get zone on half-half. The guy on the back of your tarp who's trying to hold the connections, he gets padded on. So you turn around, you start building up, your teammate starts building up, and you've only got one player down the bottom watching. Normally, you're either going to get chopped because you're not connecting now, you guys are all the way on the backside, or a team is going to launch pad or rotate to front side, look back and chop and pressure you guys out. It happens way too often. You can hold high ground in bad lobbies if no one focuses you, but be prepared to give it up. Because you got to remember, right now with launch pads in the game, so many people have extra material. The guy who just launch padded on you could very well have 555 mats, and they're willing to burn all of them building on top of you. Just because you have the mats and the ammo that normally used to let you alpha height doesn't mean you're going to have it now. Play it smart, drop down, maybe even short pad if you want to, get back to front side, reassess a layer, and then spray them back. There's way less concern being second height now because high ground's getting launch padded on so much, they can't apply the same level of pressure and focus second height like they used to. So your chances to late take height, I'm talking second, third rotating zones, are so much higher. If you just use your launch pads properly, use your material properly, and stay at front side, you're going to take height and win way more games by just rotating through the mid game. Don't be afraid to burn your materials. Way too often, I see players trying to save their material by doing stair taps, by white lining their rotates end game, when they could easily use 200-300 more materials going to dead side. Like let's say zones going across, all you've got to do is go to the far side that was the furthest side from where the last zone came from. So let's say you've got half-half in first rotating zone. Right now, this is going to be the congested edge. But if you cut across or cut across to the other side, there's going to be way less players. Don't be afraid to use your material to do that. Don't be afraid to tank a bit of storm and then use the chug cannon to heal you back up, because now you have extra material because of the launch pads. Launch pads have changed everything. All you've got to do is recycle a launch pad on half-half or first rotating, or use your own. You've saved like 800-900 mats from how much you used to have to rotate in trios. That's a lot. So don't be afraid to burn through your material and then late take height if you want to. That is my best advice. As far as when to use your launch pads, it's going to depend. Right now, being on congested edge of half-half is not a bad thing because it means you're almost guaranteed to get a recyclable launch pad. Remember, in trios, a lot of good players are going to camp launch pads. They're going to hit you the second you hit them, or they're going to cone block them off and wait for you. Again, don't be afraid to take 1 or 2 seconds of storm to make sure that you get the pad without anyone attacking your team, and making sure that once you then land, you get to see where everyone else is gone. Most teams right now, there's at least 4 to 5 chug cannons in the game. You're going to have them quite often, or you're going to have extra meds because there's no harpoons to carry, there's no mobility to carry. Don't be afraid to take a bit of damage to make sure one of you doesn't get eliminated. That'd be my best advice. If you can't recycle a pad though, use your own. And yes, this goes without saying. Now the player's aim is disgustingly good. Try to avoid high padding as much as possible. If you high pad, make sure you can do it in a situation where you can go up and then go back down before you pull your glider. If you're pulling your glider soon and you're in the sky, you're gonna get railed. It's that simple. Controller players right now, the long range aim assist isn't there. Close range is the most balanced it's ever been, but players aim is disgusting right now. If you are in the sky for too long, you're gonna get beamed. Learn how to set up your short pads. Learn to just short pad, even if you don't get all the way to front side of zone. Getting halfway there and then tarping is fine. Or if you have an extra pad, don't be afraid to stagger. Wait, get halfway to the front side of zone. Wait till zone all the way catches up to you, then pad again. Use them. You're not gonna use launch pads after about first rotating zone. There's no point having them. You're not going to go for these crazy epic whale god tier launch pads onto height. Use them. Never go down with a launch pad. It is the cardinal sin. As far as drop spots right now, honestly, most of the major POIs are the same. You guys know, I've been talking about it, I've been joking about it. We haven't really had any map changes. The only POI right now that I would consider the alpha POI that's just so much better than the rest is Sweaty Sands. You have a shotgun NPC that quite often sells spazzes. You have an AR NPC that quite often sells scars. You've now had 2 IO chests added to Sweaty Sands with an IO car. So Sweaty Sands is really the only POI right now that is just god tier. It has enough gold as well right now to get at least 3 of your teammates epic upgrades. I believe you could probably get 4 epic upgrades. There's about 300-400 gold worth of residual gold in Sweaty Sands without any bounties. So if you're super aggressive, if you're playing cash cups and you want to alpha up a drop that guarantees good loot, Sweaty Sands. You're gonna get at worst a blue pump and a blue AR. You're usually gonna walk out with spazzes and scars though, because with the IO chests as well, they have a high chance of dropping them. Other than that though, honestly, it's similar to last season. The big POIs are still fantastic. Slurpy Swamps has shield. Dirty Dock still has a lot of fishing and shield. You've got, Steamy Stacks has a lot of loot. It's the major POIs. Nothing's really changed there. Unfortunately, trying to go for shambles routes is not as good, especially with launch pads being so important now. Remember, launch pads can only drop from floor loot. So if you're going a drop spot that's very shambles that just has a few chests and not a lot of floor loot, you're going to miss out. If you're going a major POI, you're going to walk out with 1 to 2 launch pads every game. That is crucial. So try to learn how to fight a POI. Pick a POI you're good at. They're all decent right now. Just know if you're going edge POIs, you're going to probably struggle on Surge. That's what I'm noticing is happening a lot with the new, Clicks is a new team. They're dropping Craggy Cliffs. They're really struggling on Surge right now. That's the biggest issue I saw for them, but they're not alone. Any of the edge POIs, if your Craggy and zone goes south, with Surge being as hard as I said it was, it is really difficult. You're gonna have to take a super aggressive early 3v3. So if there's a POI that's more centered to the map, Bony Burbs, Colossal Crops, Slurpy Swamps, and you like it, maybe practice that one over an edge POI. We've got some tournaments coming back the next few days, so a lot of the news videos are going to come back with my guide videos in between. A lot of you guys have been asking about this, so I hope you did enjoy just what I've learned so far from watching scrims, and hopefully it gives you an idea or answers some questions you've had. But yeah, that does it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.